Hello and welcome to LWO Radio. I am your host, Holla, and I am excited to be here tonight for our inaugural episode. We've got an action-packed first episode show for you tonight. We're happy to be broadcasting to the legions of legends worldwide. And without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-host. So as you guys know, every great talk show will have an amazing co-host. And for me, a guy that I've been roommates with for many moons when I'm not actually hanging out with my full-time roommates. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the one and only 74 in the program, 74 in your hearts, Mr. Scotty Rimek. Scotty, how are you?
I'm doing as well as I can be. It's nice, honestly, to have a break from my family. I love them to death, and I am so, what's the word I'm looking for? Just sick of being around them. So yeah.
Sick. That was my second guess, Scotty. All right, buddy. And we were talking off the air. You said you've been washing your hands a lot. What has been making your hands so dirty?
Thunderbum. I mean, it's just one of those things that happens. There's many ways it could happen. Too much peanuts.
Fair.
Looking into the owl's eyes, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've been washing my hands quite a bit, and hopefully that's doing my part. You know, I like to help. I'm a giver.
Sounds pretty good, actually. So you're keeping the island's hand sanitizing business in business. So sounds really good. Before we really get into the meat of the show, we're very excited to introduce two guests to the episode. Two guys that took a leap of faith on us when this concept came around. Basically LWO royalty. We want to kick this show off well. We want to do it right. We want to tell some of the stories that make LWO so unique and exciting. And I can't think of a better duo to do it with than the next two guys who are on the screen at the moment. You've obviously can see who they are. You know, history's had some great duos, Laurel and Hardy, Cagney and Lacey, BJ and the Bear, and of course Turner and Hooch, which is a personal favorite. And LWO has theirs. Of course, I'm talking about T-Money and Mac Daddy. Mac Daddy, how are you tonight?
Holla, living large in Mantown down here. Just, embracing the fact that we are going to relive some LWO history. Thanks for putting this all together. Amazing stuff.
I love it, Mac, and I love what you've done with Mantown there. You've got a number of different jerseys and scarves up. You've got the LWO banner. Is that some sort of sombrero as well? Fantastic.
Yeah, there's a sombrero there, and I brought up my special edition LWO mug. I don't know if you noticed this.
Wow, look at that. Let's zoom in on that. I'm actually pinching the screen right now and zooming in.
It's
amazing.
As big as my head.
And T, over to you in isolation, but I can see that you've been growing your hair out. So that is amazing.
So that's actually the surprise that I wanted to show to everybody is that I've spent this time not just screwing around and puttering in the yard. I've been working on the gold dust hair. So, I'm feeling good about it. I still have who knows how many more weeks or months of this. So should be pretty good. I'm hoping for sort of somewhere between gold dust and full on Hulk Hogan, proper bald spot, but long in certain spots too. So let's see where it lands come the next tournament we're all able to get together.
It really makes you look tanned. And I mean that in the best way possible. You look fantastic.
Mac mentioned before, Oompa Loompas are a huge inspiration for me. And so just doing what I can to help my family and help you guys.
Well, they say the camera adds 10 pounds, but in your case, it's taken 25 years off your life of fantastic work there. And you too.
My life.
You have you've decorated well as well.
Yes, this is definitely not Mantown. This is our dining room, and I've rocked some solid LWO stuff with way off in the distance a couple hockey jerseys as well.
Fantastic
Special
work.
occasion, so the kids weren't allowed in the kitchen today.
I can see them. Well, gentlemen, as you know, we are putting on our very first episode of LWO Radio. A couple things that I wanted to kind of make mention of. First of all, the Nessmans, everybody, graciously providing that theme song. The Nessmans microphone is our theme song for LWO Radio. It's a perfect fit. I think we can all agree that the intro is a winner. And if you want to check out their music, check them out on SoundCloud. If you actually want a CD, I think you've got to get a hold of Spilly Benson if you want to actually get a CD and rock that out in your CD player. But thank you to the Nessmans for providing that. And the other thing is, if you're watching worldwide, as legends do, whether you're watching us live Friday night or Saturday morning, make sure that you've got a beverage in front of you. I know the guys have quite a stock. I know Scotty himself has got his own cooler there in the guest room. So make sure you've got a beverage so you can toast us along, drink along. This show will be better if you've been drinking. It'll be better if we've been drinking. So make sure you've got a beverage in front of you. And lastly, if you like what you see and you want to see more of LWO Radio, and you can always reserve judgment till after the show, make sure you click the subscribe button. It's down below on your YouTube. Hit like, leave a comment, let us know you like it. If you want notification of when we're going next live, hit the little bell icon, but make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We are not monetizing this because clearly we don't want to be millionaires. But everything else goes. So make sure you hit like, hit subscribe. We'll exclusively be on YouTube. And the goal here with LWO Radio, gentlemen, is to have a guest or two every week with Scotty and I to tell some stories, have a bit of fun. And we're probably going to have a run of about 5 or 6 episodes. So stay tuned roughly every week, depending on people's schedules. So we hope you enjoy it. There's a lot going on in the world right now. So this is our attempt at having a bit of fun. So without further ado, I'd like to dedicate this episode. So we had a bit of a get together as a group, and we decided that for our very first episode, with everything else that's going on, that the best plan would be to dedicate this out to LWO's frontline workers out there. Of course, we are talking about 2 gentlemen who are out in the thick of things right now during a worldwide pandemic. They're putting their health and their family's health on the line. And as you can see on screen, our dedication this week goes to Spilly Benson and Coolio. Spilly Benson in the ER room, thank you for everything that you do. And Coolio working frontline in the grocery stores in Salmon Arm. You two are legends. So I will say cheers to that.
To Spilly and Coolio.
There's Spilly and Coolio.
This episode is for you, gentlemen. Okay, and before we get into our main topic, of course, we have an episode sponsor. I'm going to shoot it over to Scotty Too Hottie Rimek to introduce this episode's sponsor. Go ahead, Scotty.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks. I've never done this before. I've never had to work with a sponsor, so hopefully we go okay and we don't lose them on the first episode. But, it should be fine, right?
It'll be fine.
Well, anyway, let's start it off. Let's get a good read in. We'll start with you, Jeff. You're a fairly active individual, right?
I've been called worse.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, listen, I have just the product for you. From the minds of famed inventors Hogsworth and Axford, Hogs Corp is entering the ever-expanding world of personal fitness trackers. Imagine the stress on elite-level coaches and trainers in your life, Jeff, trying to record and analyze what is actually going on in your body during athletic competition. With bulky trackers on your wrist or strapped to your chest, they're uncomfortable. They're easily exposed to damage. And that's even if the official will allow you to wear them in the competition. Well, now you don't have to worry about that anymore. Hogs Corp is proud to bring to market the Shitbit, a small personal activity tracker capsule that is gently inserted into the athlete's anus. No cumbersome and annoying straps to deal with, and at only 2.5 inches in length and roughly the diameter of a D-cell battery, you will hardly even know that you're carrying the tracker inside of you. Having it inserted inside your body also keeps the tracker safe from any outside factors that could easily damage an external tracker. The Shitbit easily links to any smartphone or tablet via Bluetooth, and info can start being monitored immediately after a simple pairing process. And if your coaches or trainers are concerned about the ShipBits connectivity, you can simply upgrade to a Pro model at a small additional cost. This Pro model includes a signal enhancer to ensure a constant seamless connection is established and maintained with ShipBits satellites. Simply attach the added 1.5-inch long antenna to the end of your ShipBit before insertion and leave the exposed antenna protruding from the anal canal. This patented turtle head technology is the first of its kind and is definitely going to revolutionize the way in which we connect to our electronic devices in the future. Now, back to more LWO Radio.
Scotty, amazing. Thank you very much for that. And you can get your ShipBits online. Check out the link for the sponsor down below, or get a hold of Scotty Rimek, and he'll help you insert your
It's about time. It's about time.
Totally. The market's been waiting for this.
This is amazing stuff. Before we get into it, we do have a live viewer. Shout out to Les Nessman, who has sent us a message, black and yellow, baby. And he also appreciated the shout out. So cheers to you, Les Nessman, otherwise known, I believe, as Spilly Benson, if I'm reading the cards right.
Spilly Benson.
So Spilly, thanks for joining us live. We appreciate it.
Les, I sincerely hope one day you get those walls to your office, buddy. Hey, here's to you.
All right. Cheers to you. I'm going to be finished all my beers before the first segment's over. And speaking of first segments, each week we are going to bring you a segment that we like to call Origins. And Origins is going to cover any manner of something LWO within our history. It could be why somebody ate a Band-Aid. It could be something about two-time champions that are now going to be champions for another year. So thank you for that, COVID-19. It could be just about anything from the history of LWO. It could be a fact-finding mission. It could be just related to the guests that we have on the show. And as you know, we've got T-Money, we've got Mac Daddy here. What better way to celebrate episode 1 than to go way back into the early years of LWO? We're talking the 90s, the early 90s. And so we're very excited to have our guest tonight talk to us a little bit about that history, share some of the stories that made LWO great in the early years, and get us really kicked off in the right direction. So without any further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Mac Daddy. Mac Daddy, where do you want to start? What years are we talking about? What's going on in the very genesis of LWO?
Yeah, that's a good question, because when the LWO actually starts is not quite when the guys started playing together. So really, if you want to go back, I talked to a few guys. I talked to Monty and I talked to Guy, and they have like minds like traps, and they can go back into the 80s and remember all this stuff. I can't even remember what happened yesterday. So anyway, I talked to these guys, and they gave me a little bit of insight on some of the stuff that was a little bit pre-me. So in 1987, the Jock Shop Drillers was a team in the Shoe Shop Men's Soccer League at that time. And that had some of the guys playing. So, for example, Guy was playing it. I think he would have been in like grade 10 or something like that. I think he said he was in grade 10 when he played then. But it would have been some of the Walters boys. Al wouldn't have been playing. And then that kind of morphed. That was those guys getting initiated, probably because of Eric, their dad, who had a huge influence on Salmon Arm Soccer. And that then led to Gammy in 89. And then all the way from 89 to 92, he ran a team called the Salmon Valley Sports Strikers. And on that team, that's where he started to get some of the guys who became core members together. So guys like Murray, guys like John Humphreys, all the Walters boys played. Muchin would have played at that time. Matt Phillips played during those years. So, it would have been a time when it kind of started and initiated the guys playing together. Then it kind of played together through the 90s. And then 1992 was a big year, because that's when all of a sudden a few more bodies were added that became like legit players who would long time be members. So Joe Sawada, Wade McPherson, Spilly, Levi Cooperman, they all made their debut in 1992, which would have been their first year. All those guys would have just been out of high school at that time. Then it kind of shifts. We have a year where there's actually no sponsorship. It's kind of like, hey, we're going to do our own thing. And that's the year when I was at it and another guy named Casey Sedgman. We played on the high school soccer team. In 1991, we put a team into the league and got destroyed by everyone. Nice little bit of trivia for you here. The nicest goal of the year, as voted on by all members of the Shuswap Men's Soccer League that year, was an own goal scored by a guy on our team who was he was the stick boy for the Salmon Arm Tigers at the time. And he got the ball at the top of the 18, turned, he was a defender, turned and drilled it top shelf. Unbelievable. Troy, do you remember that guy's name? I can't remember his name.
Tom McNabb. I wonder if he happened to be related to Christian Provan, perhaps.
Yes.
It sounds like he had a bit of the Provans. Now, Mac T, is everyone? You mentioned a lot of the guys that we know from LW even today, but there's an age range there. It's not everyone's all like grad 91 or grad 90. There's an age range. What's sort of the age range of the guys on the team at this point?
Well, we got Ian we're going to be they're maybe going to be pushing 50 next year, not this year. Like I'm going to be 47. He's maybe going to be 49, maybe like sort of that age range. For our current guys, they're the older guys, even though Murr's like the most fit dude on either team. Like we're still, that's sort of the upper age. And obviously now we get to really young. Well, really young. We're an over 35 team, but like guys that are just over 35. But
nice.
Yeah, we're kind of all from the same kind of within 4 or 5 years, really.
Yeah. Like we knew each other, maybe not tight buddies before, but we knew each other. So
Mac, you're involved at this point, but T, you're not quite there yet, right?
Yeah. So are you through yours, Mac?
Well, Troy. Well, we can go to that takes us nicely to 1994 because that was your first year, right, Troy?
Yeah. Me and Koski and Brad and like not yet Coolio, Brad Young. We joined in 94, and that's the Livewire Lightning, and the Livewire is the bar in Salmon Arm, and they're our sponsor. Yeah, you're rocking, and that's not our jersey in 94, but like in 94 we're playing in the league, and like I haven't played soccer at that point since I was in grade 7 because we didn't have junior high soccer for boys, only for girls in Salmon Arm, and so like Mac and the Walters boys and some of the found a way to keep playing, but a lot of us just. That was it. Like, I played hockey and some basketball and soccer was done. So it was only basically because these guys were all playing and something fun to do in the summer. But like, I didn't know whether I was going to be into soccer or not. I hadn't played it, at that point in like more than a decade, I guess. So
Mac, what are your earliest memories? I mean, you talked about that voted on best goal, own goal, but what are your some of your really early memories of being a part of that early team?
Well, we had some great rivalries. The league was I wouldn't say it was good soccer, but it was extremely competitive. There were some good teams from Revelstoke. There was a team called G&H Ironmen that eventually became Sun Country Cable, and then eventually became the Grebes, which was like one of our main rivals. And like my biggest memories were just as a pretty young dude, like basically in high school and just out of high school, jumping into this men's league, and there being like full on like fights with like hardcore punches being thrown, and it was kind of like, oh shit, this is real. Like
this is proper interior soccer. Like this is like, bust your legs.
Guys are trying to kill each other, and you get in a fight. It was like a 1-game suspension. You get a red card, and you sat the game, and then you're good, all good to go. Like it was just full on. So that was a bit of a thing for me. It's just like, okay, this is this is what men's league is all about. That's one of the things I look back to in those early years. It kind of hardened me a little bit, got me ready for men's league.
And T, what about you? I mean, what do you remember?
It was a ton of fun. Like, that was probably the main thing. Like, I didn't know whether it was going to be great or not. Like, Mac and I went to elementary school, but we weren't crazy buddies at that point. And same for I was probably better buddies with, like, I don't think Joe was there in '94 for some reason, but Wade and some of the other guys more hanging out with them. But, I didn't know, I knew Monty, but I didn't really know Guy and Gammy, and a lot of the guys I didn't know. But I mean, I knew them, but wasn't buddies with them. And so, it was just a ton of fun. And we, in '94, we start realizing that we're actually pretty good. And in Salmon Arm, like, that bar is not incredibly high, but it's obviously a little more fun when you're winning, and we usually won. Like, we weren't dominating always, but we won. And then, the tournament rolls around, and that's kind of next level. Like, I think, Mac, you hadn't been in any tournament, like the tournament before then either, right?
No, I remember being at practice. At that time, I was playing with a team called Players Pub Strikers. And it was with a bunch of old dudes. Knee Brace Mike, like a total legend in the Salmon Arm Soccer League. So Knee Brace Mike and Keith Chancellor, like old dudes. And it was me and another dude. Lee Mulroy was a guy who actually got me on their team. He was like, "Hey, I'm playing soccer this year. You want to come and play?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And so I'm playing on this team, and we're at practice. When I say practice, there was like probably 6 of us doing penalty shots. And this geeky guy with glasses comes up to me and asks me if I want to play in the tournament coming up. I'm like, who the hell's this guy? And it was Gammy. And so I can't, like, maybe that was the Vernon tournament actually he invited me to. But anyway, it was my first introduction to Gammy, and I thought the guy was probably like 30 years old at the time. I was like, who is this guy? And next thing you know, I play in a couple tournaments. I think it was Vernon. I played in a Vernon tournament, I think, but the Salmon Arm one was my first. 1994 was my first.
94.
Yeah.
I always remember your first. So, and 94 is kind of interesting because historically, and the tournament had been on for a long time at that point. Like, and Salmon Arm would put a selects team in, and really probably some of our dudes should have made it, but there was probably some of the old school, like, we're going to pick our buddies that are going to make the selects team. And Gammy, who is, for those of you, like, that's Monty's brother, and he was kind of the captain and guy that ran our team in those early years, and great player. And he decided, screw it. Partway through the year of us playing together in '94, he said, let's put our team in the tournament. I have no idea how it's going to go because, like, Salmon Arm teams never do well. But because they never do well, why keep rolling the selects out? Why don't we try? We were a really athletic group. We weren't really great at soccer, but we were really athletic. And the tournament's played August long in Salmon Arm, and from start to finish, if you make it, is 6 games, and it's pushing 40 degrees usually, like hot. But like, I knew nothing about the tournament as somebody who didn't play soccer, and like, did you know anything about it, Mac? I guess maybe a little more than me, but
I knew nothing about the tournament. I know no history. I just like, oh yeah, sure, I'll play this, whatever. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was my first, induction into things. And then next thing you know, we're playing this tournament and we're winning games. It's like, what's going on here? Like, I had no context, so I kind of wasn't really surprised. It's like, oh, we won a game. Okay, whatever, no big deal.
But I remember though, like, going into the tournament, knowing nothing about it, and we picked up old school. Like, that's a big pickup. And was it Neil? I never remember Neil's name. We picked up
Rogers, I think. Yeah, Neil Rogers.
Picked up another sort of older guy. Gammy just thought, we got a ton of athletic young guys. Let's pick up a couple experienced guys. And I kind of knew who old school was. In fact, he'd worked for my dad like years before. And just a good player, really good athlete, and tough as nails. And he actually, like, back in '94, he and Mac played center back together, and they were a really good combo because Mac was young and shifty, and old school was tough as shit. Like, it was like, the ball can get by you, the guy can get by you, but the ball and the guy can't get by you. That sort of stuff. Like, and he like, that was just the way he played. Like, you know, it was like hard soccer with old school. But we, like, the tournament starts and we have no idea how we're going to do. And we win our first game against like some sort of crappy team. So it's not much of a benchmark. You get 3 games in the first round, like just like you're in, you know, the World Cup. And then we play a team, Mount Lehman, who came for years afterwards. And we played them at the old high school, I remember, and we tied them 0-0, I think. I'm a total bit part on the team, like, and deservedly so. Like, I'm new to soccer, and we've got guys that are, you know, much better and playing a lot. So I remember watching a lot from the sidelines. And so we go to our next game, and we're playing a Prince George team, and they're good. It's like Honda North, I think, and they're like a tournament veteran and, you know, usually in the mix. And we need a result to make it to the quarterfinals. So you're going from 16 teams down to 8, and we drew them. So we made it through. And like, I don't have a ton of memories from like the first round, but I have more memories from then. Like, do you remember much about the first 3 games, Mac?
I don't remember any of that. Like, zero. The only thing I remember is in the beer gardens afterwards, because I was like pretty young and it was like, whoa, this is really fun.
Yeah.
But like, as far as the actual games, zero. I do remember, I played center back. I do remember playing with old school, thinking like, oh man, like he was saying some stuff on the field. I was like, oh wow, like you say that, and like, you know, so yeah, it was a good intro to like what men's league soccer was for me. But as far as like the games, I could not tell you who we played, what the scores were, none of that. I couldn't tell you really who scored any goals, like nothing.
I mean, I had to check a bit with Monty, although like I can remember some of it. And so then we go to the quarterfinals, and now you're into the knockout round, and we came second in our group. Prince George probably won the group, so we're gonna play Williams Lake. They won their group, and that's like young Benny, but it's like Gracie Sherm's probably on the team, and, you know, Ripper, their goalie, and like a lot of guys we end up playing, Parnell and Kurt Levins and lots of those boys, and probably Deep, and they're good, and they're the defending champs, and they're like, they're like Salmon Arm in the sense that we got to know these guys and love these guys, and like, but I didn't know any of them at that point, and they're tough as shit too. And we play them in the quarterfinals, and I just knew that they were the defending champs. That's all I knew about them. And I remember that I got to play a little more in that game. That was like the first game that I actually saw more than, you know, 10 or 15 minutes. And it was 0-0 through regulation. I remember I was playing right mid in that tournament. I wasn't a back. Wade was a right back, and he played a fair bit. Spilly was on the team. I have this feeling that Spilly wasn't on our league team, but I think he was on the tournament team. And Spilly and I were similar, like not playing huge minutes, but getting some time. And Koskamaki's playing too up front. And then we have Gammy, like linchpin in the middle, and Honors, who Chris went to school with, who was a star. Like, he was a star center mid. And Guy is excellent too at that point in all of our set pieces, and even some guys like Mike Bailey was a good player then, and Chad Polson's our big striker at that point, and Murr wasn't there that year. I don't remember why. And but we play Williams Lake 0-0. I actually drew a penalty amazingly. I don't know how that happened, but I drew a penalty in like regulation time. Gammy missed the penalty. Ripper saves him, and it goes to extra time. And then we got a free kick, and Gammy scores on Ripper on the free kick, and we win in advance. And that's the end of Sunday night. And I remember that being like, whoa, we just beat the defending champs. And I remember that there was a couple, was it Sean, the dude that owned the live wire? I can't even remember his name. Our sponsor guy?
Yeah, Sean, yeah.
Some other guys there. And I just remember the beer gardens being like, holy shit, we just beat the defending champs. Like, and thinking that was pretty cool. And then we go, so the Salmon Arm Selects, just as a sidebar, they're in the team tournament too, and they've gone 2 wins and a tie. I had to check with Monty on this, but I remember that they were good, like Jeff Abbott and some of the boys in there. Monty's in net. Monty's not on our team. And Dave would have been on the team, and probably some of the Arnolds, and like, but they've got a pretty decent team. They win 2 and tie, and they draw Semiamu in the quarterfinals. And I remember kind of thinking, because I didn't know, I thought, well, if they're the Salmon Arm Selects, like they must be pretty good. And I knew some of the guys were good. And they lose 8-1 in the quarterfinals to Samiamu. And I didn't remember that score. That goes to Monty. But I remember that they got their asses handed to them. And now we're playing Samiamu next. And so it's like we just beat the defending champs, but now we're playing this team that just crushed like what would otherwise be the best players in Salmon Arm. And who knew how that was going to go, but we beat them. We beat them 3-1. And like, I can remember going into that game after beating Williams Lake and having more confidence that like, we can do this and we can beat the good teams. And the most memorable goal, Mac, from that game, and I think it might make it 3-1, is Grinder sets up somebody, and it's either Polson or Bailey or somebody with a nice pass. And Luke, God love you, but you're not known for your passing. But after the goal, Luke's down on the ground and he's rolling along the ground, and we're like, what happened? You know, I can remember I was on the field and I was like, must have been a dirty play. Somebody must have hacked Luke down. And it turned out that he'd done a barrel roll after like the goal to celebrate the first assist of his life. And he broke his collarbone doing a barrel roll. So that was pretty good.
I remember I went and visited him in the hospital afterwards.
Yeah.
And he was like delirious on painkillers, and he was hitting on the nurse. I remember it was classic. He was telling the nurse how beautiful she was. It was pretty classic.
So and Luke was also one of our very good players. Like, you know, and he played high school with him, Mac. Like he was a goal scorer and physical forwards and super. Yeah. And so we lose him, and we're going to the finals against Spools, which is the goalie for Spools. We still see in Vernon. He's that total ledgy goalie. I don't know his name, but like, you know the guy I mean, Mac? Yeah,
Chris.
Okay. And really good goalie, really good dude. And Spools is also like a team with some history in the tournament. And we beat them 1-0. And my memories from there get pretty hazy because we get absolutely smashed. Like this picture that Mac's showing right now on the screen. Like, and we're young but it's chaos. And some of the boys, like I remember Barry McKay and Dave Walters, who weren't on our team, probably both on the selects, being totally into it. And Guy there, you'll see, he was actually our coach that year because he hurt his knee tree planting or something. And we just got smashed. I missed 2 days of work, like throw up, blackout, no idea how I got home. Grace Bootsman, Claire Wickett took me home. My mom's like, what the hell happened to him? And I missed the next 2 days of work. I remember a story that you guys went up to the racquetball center after, and at some point, Mac's thrown up on himself. We're sitting in the pub, and Wade hands him a shirt. Wade's got an extra shirt, and Mac takes the shirt, wipes the puke off of himself, and hands the shirt back to Wade. Wade meant for Mac to wear the shirt.
Yeah, thanks, Wade. That was great.
So that's kind of tournament one, and like a lot of hazy memories, but like that's kind of where it all starts.
So we're seeing some images on the screen here. Before we get into that, I do want to shout out a couple of our live watchers, folks tuning in. First one, member of the LWO, Jer Bear, looking good, fellas. How are you, Jer? Thanks for joining us. He's very, very close. He'll probably be in the next Vernon tournament that we go to.
Way to get older. Way to get older, Jer.
And I'd also like to shout out a friend of mine from the UK, Danny, the GFP. He's up late, giving his support. Danny is a producer and one of the creators of A Burkamp Wonderland, which is a podcast that I do about Arsenal. So, Danny, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate the support.
Thanks, Danny. I've seen Danny on some of the podcasts that you've, or like heard him on some of the podcasts you've sent me.
Guy's a podcasting royalty, that guy, and a heart of gold. And I think to this day, I'm still the only member of that podcast, despite almost all of them being in the UK, to have actually gone and visited Danny in Cambridgeshire, which is not Cambridge, which is where I took the train to. And then he had to send his daughter to come and get me. But this is not a podcast about my mistakes on British trains. It's a podcast about LWO. Mac, what are we seeing on screen here? Talk us through these photos.
Oh, man. So these are some absolute beauties. You can see, so for example, this one right here, you can see some Anders Fromm, this guy right here, second from the right, I guess. He was an exchange student from the Netherlands. and he was a hell of a player. I remember he scored a really big goal for us, Troy, in that tournament.
Yep.
He got the ball at like center, beat a couple dudes, and then sort of cut into the middle and hit it right-footed from probably about like 25 yards out. And I was like, oh, wow, that's legit. He was like just a slick player, probably only about 17 years old, but he was like a hell of a player. He was only
And
here
tough,
for.
he was tough too. That was the only year he played with us because he went back to the Netherlands. But
he went back home after that.
Like, he's as good as anybody we've ever played with.
Was he the Jens of the early LWO crew?
But he might have been.
Maybe.
He was really good. So him and Gammy eating up most of the minutes in the center mid would have been a massive strength for us.
Totally. There's Gammy right there. Notice the yellow socks. Little sidebar story. Gammy wore yellow socks to practices and games, and we all had like black socks, and we're like, what the hell's with this guy wearing his yellow socks? But he stole them from the Salmon Arm High School because the Salmon Arm High School team wore yellow. And so he always wore them to practices and games, and we started calling them yellow socks. And then that is eventually what morphed into us having yellow as our team colors for the LWO. So it's all thanks to Gammy stealing some socks from the high school team that we have yellow as our color. So you can see here's a picture, trophy celebration there. God, I had such good hair back in the day. Look at Team Money here, rocking the shades and the Cubs hat. I think there's a better close-up shot of Team Money. There's Coolio wearing the Hornets hat backwards there.
I see Polis there, although
Polis didn't play.
But he's there.
Yeah, Polis was there. Knee brace Mike in the back. Look at this. Oh, there's Monty. There. Look at Troy though. God damn. Look at the hair.
Where did I get those?
The glasses. Look at he's rocking. He's fist pumping just like he was like listening to ABBA. Like,
I remember unbelievable having a great time there. I remember until I completely blacked out and threw up everywhere. I remember.
You look like you were on a risky business mission there for sure.
I was.
And then this is a great kind of tradition that we started. It's pants down soccer. So after tournaments, sometimes I can't remember if it was always after the last game or if it was kind of just
usually the last game.
So one of the traditions is you gear down and your shorts have to be around your ankles, and then we'd play a game of soccer. And you can see some nice look at the underwear being up the crack there. There's such beautiful stuff.
There was some good stuff that came out of that. It was like just jockey was always a big one, and and nice crack when you get a shot off.
You got to be brief on the ball. Yeah,
that is gold.
And then this is the last shot I just wanted to point out here. This is the actual tournament draw in the background here behind the trophies. And you can't see it very well on this particular photo, but we decided this is probably from 1998. 98. But you can see that there's some yellow spray paint on there. That's where the very first time that we broke out LWO, and we spray painted it on there, and it became our mantra that we somehow became the LWO.
So why LWO? Where does that come from?
Well, to get there really quickly, post 94, we keep going, right? We go into the league, and now we're just trashing teams. Old School comes and joins us in the league, and merciless. I remember us playing the Golds one year, and one of their kids starts trashing the Old School, and at the time, I mean, what is he's maybe 30, and they're trashing him about being old, and I think it's pretty close at the half, maybe even 0-0. And
it was 0-0. I remember this game you're talking about. 0-0.
Old School pretty good. And second half, we just pulverized them after this kid. And it was 10-0. And then they would never play us again. So it was good news, bad news, because we were just merciless on teams. We just suddenly the tide had shifted. Revelstoke wasn't quite as good as they used to be. And we would kick their ass, and we'd go up there. We went up there in 95 with 9 dudes. And because that's all we could get for the road trip, we got an early team yellow, and which is pretty rare. But
hold on. You got a team yellow,
Mac?
Yeah. So I don't recall like a single incident that led to this, but I guess the ref felt like we were chirping quite a bit.
Yeah.
And there was, it was getting a little intense. There was some hard tackles. I definitely remember a few guys going in pretty hard, like, and Revelstoke at this time would have been quite competitive. They had a few guys. I'll throw out a few names just for old time's sake for some of the old boys. Like Tony Sessa was their striker.
Rest in peace. I believe Tony passed away.
Oh, rip.
A few years ago.
They had the Dutch brothers, the Van Goor brothers, Bert and Roman. I believe Roman played in the NASL. He was a legit, both of them were very good, but he was like legit. I think he played with the Detroit franchise in the NASL. Anyway, Dan Zieski.
This all sounds made up.
Hey, this is legit fact checking. Randy Dredgiger or something like that was a little like kind of midget, but a pretty good center back. And then there was like Joe Melly. Remember Joe Melly, Troy?
Yeah.
So he's the guy who Muchin told to go home and beat his wife. That was a really good one that got Joe pretty fired up. And anyway, so things are getting pretty feisty, and they were a decent team. And the ref decides, I've had enough of this. I'm giving your entire team a yellow card. So he shows the yellow card.
Luckily, there was only 9 of us.
Kind of just waves it around at all of us and says, your whole team has a yellow card. And we're like, oh, okay. Whatever.
Like Gabby or somebody being like, there's no such thing. You can't just, there's no such thing as a team yellow.
All right. So now that we've covered the team yellow, sorry, thank you for pausing.
Billy ends up with
forgive my ignorance. Sorry. Go carry on, because you were telling me about why LWO before I rudely interrupted.
Got sidetracked.
I got sidetracked.
So we'll skip through that.
It's the alcohol.
We 1996, the NWO comes into existence. We're talking wrestling now, New World Order. And
shouldn't you have your hat off for wrestling talk?
And
there he is, Goldberg.
Gold Dust.
Gold Dust.
So we're still Live Wire Lightning. But over the years, like our connection to the Live Wire, probably more by that, I mean, like, we're getting our VIP pass, which skips the lineup, which there is no lineup except for maybe August Long. We're getting some free pitchers legitimately. We're getting some team funds, but it's kind of, shooter tutors. Like, but the things start to lessen as time goes on, and we're still the Live Wire Lightning. We're still rocking the shirt, but they're not really giving us anything, and they're just riding our coattails, frankly, Mac? So I remember I'm not living in Salmon Arm in 98, and we've been crushing the league for a while. And I come back in 98, and at the tournament, we're still wearing what you're wearing, Holla, but we're like, there's talk of like LWO. We're not the Live Wire Lightning anymore. We still are on the tournament board, but there's a lot of LWO talk. So we're the Lightning World Order. We're going wrestling, and wrestling's pretty big then. Like, it's like probably Hogan's like leading the NWO, and it's pretty big shit relatively. And so are we.
Well, naturally. Yeah, I mean that's going back. That's you got the NWO, you've got Monday Night Raw, right? That's the thing.
And Nitro, they're going head to head.
Yeah.
And so like that becomes like, and the picture that Max shows at the end of that tournament, we're still wearing the whites, but we spray paint the board yellow, like, because that was one of the things the NWO used to do. So sounds hokey, but you got to remember that it was the 90s. It was a while ago. We were younger.
It worked.
In 1998, I just decided that in the tournament I was gonna like do wrestling celebrations after goals, and I just like I was on fire and I scored a shitload of goals.
6 goals I scored that tournament. 6 goals.
And so I remember some of the celebrations, like I did a hacksaw Jim Duggan well, like, hey, tough guy, oh! And like the first goal, I remember my very first goal of the tournament because I thought this was the best one. And I wanted to use it in case I didn't score again, but I did like the Diamond Dallas Cage, so I did like a LWO, feel the bang, and I was like, oh man, like electrified, like fired up. And so anyway, like that kind of, so between that and I think it was actually Coolio who like said, we're the LWO, like kind of in like a post-game chat or something like that. We were talking about wrestling or whatever, and he's like like NWO, forget the NWO, we're the LWO, the Lightning World Order. And then next thing you know, that's what we became.
So we haven't won the tournament between 94 and 98. We've had near misses. We're right in the mix. We're like lost in the finals, lost in penalty kicks. Like we're good and we're right there. There's a really good team from Surrey, Joe, Billy, and some of those boys, Mac, that they three-peat in between. And then in 98, yeah, like for some reason it starts clicking. Well, we were like, wasn't a big difference. It's fine margins, but like there was a lot of attitude, like big celebrations. And I remember some of the goals, like I remember Mac's celebrations. And I remember Monty scored 2 or 3 that year, and he gets one of them, he gets it at center. And like Monty was a bloody good player, and like, you know, and he was impossible to get the ball off of. And like, and Monty led the Salmon Arm League in goals a couple times. Like, you know, he was good. But he skins a couple dudes going down the pitch and rifles one in, and then he kind of staggers. I think it was like the drunkard or something, and he's like, sub! Like as soon as he scores, basically to get off the pitch. And we play Fort Langley in the semis, and they're good. They're a like good coastal team who probably would have been more of a handful on a Saturday, but we get them on a Monday in the semis, and they're good ball possession. But we've got Mac up front. That's the first year that Mac and Wade switch. Wade goes to center back and Mac goes to striker, and it's good. Mac scores 6, and he's playing up top with Dave McFate. And he's this like Scottish guy who also played NASL, really good, and like great combo. And so in Fort Langley in the semis, we end up beating them 3-1. Max scores 2. One of them's off of a Coolio has a huge throw in, and he's playing right back for us in those days. And he hits Max streaking down the sideline, and Max scores on like basically the equivalent of a fast break. And that's kind of how we absorbed a ton of pressure back then, and then we just hit teams hard. But we scored 22 goals in 6 games. And McFate scores one where, and this is in the semis too, it's kind of outside the 18, and he gets it and he hits it, and it's kind of a looper, and it's going in. Like, it's one of those ones where as soon as you hit it, I've never actually done this, but like, you know, it's going in. And he turns to the bench because he's right in front of the bench, and the ball's still in the air, and he's like, how do you like that, boys? And it goes in. You know, and it's just like kind of like that sort of attitude. And
yeah. and that really kind of like exemplifies kind of at that time we had some serious swagger. Like 98 into 99, like we didn't lose. We had, and this is legit, we had a 50+ game winning streak in league and tournaments.
Not even tied. Like we just won. We just beat everybody all the time.
To win a tournament is hard. To win 2 tournaments in a row is hard. To win all your league games in between those 2 tournaments is hard. So like at any level to win, 50+ games in a row is just like unbelievable. So we had like some serious swagger, and I'm sure dudes absolutely hated us.
Oh yeah.
So it it created some good rivalries. It was good.
And then they absolutely still hate you.
So we win
we
win 98 and 98 finals is Williams Lake again, as luck would have it, and it's like now it is Benny and Gracie and Sherman, like those guys again, and
Gussie
yeah, and Joe scores to put us up 1-0, and Joe at that point is like super fit. He and Mac and Wade are doing big workouts and stuff, and super fit, like, and he's got a heavy shot. Joe scores 1-0. Late in the game, I had to fact check this with Benny. Gracie scores, who would have been their sweeper, I think. But Gracie scores late to tie it at 1. And it goes to extra time. And it's golden goal. And Guy plays it short to Mac. And Mac, I think, nutmegs a dude. And then hits across to Wade, who's center back. But Wade scored 3 goals in the tournament. And I think they're all the same, basically. Guy was deadly at set pieces, too. But this one's Mac crosses it over. And Wade heads it in for 2-1 victory in 98. So, and we just feel unbeatable. And I'm not even gonna go through 99, but 99 we repeat, and it's 6-0 again, and 6 clean sheets. Like, and it's like you just know you're gonna kill teams. Like it was kind of the prime of just like nobody can beat us. Like we win the finals over a Lethbridge team 4-0, and it's 4-0 at the half. Like we're just killing teams. And the game before that is the semi is against a Kelowna team was stacked with Kelowna and Penticton PCL guys, which is like the same as the Highlanders, and we beat them 2-0. Like Coolio gets a red in that game, by the way, Coolio. So he misses the finals, and we're down to 10 at some point. But like we just felt like there's no way you're going to beat us. Like, and then it kind of shifts. Like, it's like, you know, I look at the 99 photo and, you know, we got Murr, we got Gammy. So we got the center park, like, you know, lockdown. We got Wade, we got Old School in the center back. We got Mac Daddy, we got McFate, we got like the Jackal and Monty, and we got Guy and Jose and Spilly and Coolio, Muchin and net. But like suddenly we start getting a little older and we go from like invincible to we can't quite do it. Like, you know, we lose a little, we lose a little more. And, you know, that's kind of the end of that particular era.
Let's not talk about that, Troy.
Yeah, I know.
This is the early years.
Yeah.
Let's before we go any further, we've got another member of LWO royalty who's tuned in and entered a comment on screen in YouTube. Monty, welcome to the broadcast.
Holy snap!
God damn.
That I can tell
One of
you
my
right
favorite.
now has given all of us a boost here at LWO Radio. Some of us more than others. I think Scotty just entered into the chat that he has an erection. So thanks for that, Monty. I hope you're doing well. And thanks for joining us. And hopefully we can have you on a future episode. That would be amazing for you to come on and talk a little LWO with it.
Dream come true.
And I also know that Coolio is listening live. He's sent us a text message. He's still mastering the technology to make a comment. He says he got the red in '98. So
98 semis versus Fort Langley.
there it is. There it is, Coolio. And we got
Good job,
Dolly.
Brad.
Dolly is there too. So Dolly, shout out to you, my friend. Popular trivia, you know, Dolly often gets overlooked for his winning performance as co-coach in the 2019 over 40s
Totally.
final. Didn't want to put young Alec onto the field because of intoxication. So we arm wrestled for it. And of course I won and Alec went on to score and win Milchier. But that's a story for another episode. We are focused on LWO, the early years. Thank you for joining us, boys. Really appreciate it. We weren't sure if there'd be any live viewers. And of course, this will be available on YouTube after the fact. But appreciate you guys jumping in. Listen, guys, we covered a lot of this early period. And a lot of it has really been around the fact that the team had a ton of swagger, was winning a lot of games. I think our audience, though, would love to hear if you can share anything, some of the stories about the gritty underbelly of LWO at the time. You know, what was going on off the field? Were you guys partying? Were you having fun? Were you, what, you know, can you share any stories of the legendary LWO, maybe from off the field? We saw the pants down soccer photos. What else? What else is going on? Are there stories you can share with us? I mean, young guys growing up in Salmon Arm, maybe don't make it X-rated, but
Vegas of the North, they used to call Salmon Arm back
I'm
then.
going to leave it to Mac to tell some of the.
Yeah.
What I'll say is, like, we went from a bunch of dudes who were sort of buddies to a bunch of dudes who we were all best friends, right? Like, it was almost like we did everything together. So over to you, Mac.
Well, easy there, Scotty. Well, Troy, I think probably the one that stands out the most for me as far as, like, you know, awesome moments. Well, like, to go along with what Troy said, we worked together. So Troy and Brent and Spilly and Luke had a company, and, you know, they hired a bunch of us to go work with them, brushing out in the bush, and like, so we played together, we worked together, and then we like party together too. And probably the best one was a team party at Spilly's mom's place, which is just like you couldn't script this. It's like an episode of like some sort of ridiculous Will Ferrell movie. Like, it's old school taken to another level. We're having a team party and we're all having a great time, and our principal comes into the backyard and we toast him and he make him pound a beer, and it's like, yeah, man, it was just really good times. And then Gwill at the time was living in Penticton, I believe, and was going to be a little bit late to the party. So he drove as fast as he could to the party and felt he had to catch up, and then pounded like a whole whack of rye and went crazy.
Crazy.
Like, so like, Oh, and maybe I'm going to let you take it from here, Troy, but I'm going to set it up. This team party, by the way, was the celebration of us winning the league. It was like
Except
a
the
keg.
playoffs
I think we
weren't
got a
over.
keg. We got a keg, and it was like it was the league party celebration. So Troy, you take it from here.
Yeah, like, and this was in the email, but it is all true. Like the playoffs, I don't remember if they started, but they definitely weren't over. But we knew we were going to win. So we had the radio station, the CKXR, announce that we were having a victory parade by the live wire that night, which we were. We had the Suburban, so it must have been in the brushing years. And
Yep.
we bought peanuts to throw to our fans. I don't know if we had too many fans, but we had peanuts. And we were going to throw them out of the roof racks to the fan because we had a roof rack. We were going to get arrested, definitely. So and so the parade is planned. And Mac, being a savvy but drinky guy, realizes as he starts getting pretty drunk, I'm going to pass out in the Suburban so I don't miss the parade because
I'm not missing that parade.
So, but what he did miss is Guy arrives late. And I don't really remember that part. Like, and it was a great party. Like, we were having a ton of fun. I remember, Mac, you and me and maybe Koski and Spilly being there early, setting up the barbecue, and like Ron Sullivan, that whole part. Anyway, we're having a great time. And next thing you know, like, stuff's going crazy. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, and it turns out that Guy thinks that he's locked out of the house. We're at Spilly's mom's, but he's not locked out of the house. The door is closed. Like, most of us are outside. Like, why would we lock? Like, it doesn't even make sense. But he's hit the ride too hard. He's playing catch up. And so Spilly's mom's door has a window in it. He breaks the window to try to get into the house. And he must be able to get into the house because the door's not locked. So Will drove from Penticton in 2 hours for the team party. It is a 2.5
record time, by the way. That is not a 2-hour drive.
And so and he gets in. Now he's in the house and he's going crazy. And Coolio's song talks about smashes this rug, pukes on the rug, let's trash this fucking place. Now, I don't remember all of that, but I remember from my perspective Will's locked himself in the bathroom. And I'm trying to be like a peacemaker, like, come on, Guy, like, come on out of there, like, it's okay. And he's just crazy. It's like we've got a cage. Like, if you've seen Tiger King, it's sort of like when you've got like those crazy tigers like losing their shit. That's Guy in the bathroom. And Monty's out there not playing so peacemaker, like, basically, I'm going to kill you, Guy. And Guy decides that he's going to try to get out the window in Spilly's mom's bathroom. And it's a stained glass window. And he breaks it too to get out. And if he'd gotten out, like, truly, he might have died. Like, he probably would have gone out head first, and you're 10 feet up off of the ground. Thank God he couldn't get out the window. Somebody gets in.
He was going out head first. I was actually there for that.
Okay.
He was trying to crawl out head first, and it would have been like a head first dive, 10 feet down into a little bit of bushes, but still, that's not breaking his fall. Death.
Anyway, the parade that never was. We never got to have the parade.
I love it. I love that story. So I love these stories, and I love how, again, there was a swagger around the team, a bit of a zeitgeist, and you guys were really living in the moment. I want to know, is there a moment even back in those early years where you guys envision where LWO is today? I mean, two teams, two-time world champions from a single tournament, from humble beginnings of a parade that basically never was, and Guy almost going head first out of a bathroom window. It is. I mean, it reads.
Did you know you're going to be legends? Yeah.
It reads like this history of an Arsenal or a Liverpool, or even a Cardiff, if you will. Is there any moment, Mac or T, where you guys are thinking, gosh, like, this is the real deal. This is a lifelong commitment to the LWO.
Maybe by 98, 99, you start, not that it, like, where it's going, but like, you realize, like, we're not going to stop doing this because it's the best weekend of the year, like, without fail, right? Like, win or lose, because it isn't just the soccer. Like, the soccer is great, and I still love the soccer, and I don't even like play much soccer anymore, but I still love playing. But like, when you hit the pitch wearing the yellow, like, it's just totally different ball game, and I love it, and I want to win badly. But like, yeah, 98, 99, like you sort of just realize like these weekends are consistently so good that like we just have to keep doing this. But like, did I know for sure we'd still be doing it? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And I mean, it's fine margins. Like 94. Honestly, if we lose in the first round and we don't get like advance out of that, like we might not do the tournament in 95, right? Like, so it's like it definitely isn't right off the bat. Like, but I don't know, Mac, what do you think? Like, when do you feel like we're in this for the long haul?
Well, as you said, like I used to call the first, like the night before the tournament was Christmas Eve for me.
Yeah.
It was like I was a kid again, and I was like excited, and I couldn't sleep, and it was like that was my Christmas. It was super fun because you knew that you were going to get together. Because you know, eventually we didn't all like we were all from a small town, and then we all went our separate ways. And then eventually, this was the thing that brought us all back together again, which was pretty magical. And coming from a small town, you get tight. Like it's just like it's something that you can't describe if you're not from a little small community growing up with guys. Like you become super tight with guys, and you can go like years without talking to them, and then it's like still you see them and you're like, hey man, whatever, and you're best buddies again. And so like going through that for multiple years and then adding guys, and then those guys kind of bought in, and then it snowballed, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And like, do you know that this is going to last for 25 years? No, there's no way. And this doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't happen for a group of guys to stay tight, to stay doing their thing for like 10 years. 10 years is a stretch. 20 years, that's crazy. 25 years, that's crazy. And what are we now, like 27 years deep?
27.
But
it's
it's more than that, because you guys have taken that original core of guys and you know, we've listened to the names, you know, the Walters boys, yourselves, Mac, T Money, Jose's in the mix there. We've got Coolio in the mix.
Philly and Coolio.
Chap. I mean, these guys are all Murray. They're all still around. Like most of the names.
It's because it's so much fun.
No,
like, we've lost more tournaments than we've won, despite that we talk about, but we never have a tournament where you don't have a good time.
It's more than that, because you know, you've talked about a small town, and you've talked about how that's entwined in the fabric of LWO, and you've talked about this group of guys, but realistically, I mean, I think we've probably, you know, how many guys have played for LWO down the years, and how many are still a part of it? It's not the 20, 15, 10, 9 guys who got a yellow card. It's 60, 70 guys, yeah. Right? Yeah. It's 2 teams where, like, that's more than just, hey, we're small town tight, because, you know, you've got guys from big cities, you've got guys from all over BC, you've got guys that live all over the world now. It's amazing how a small team has come together like that and just built itself into something great, but still kept those values of, you know, I love what you guys said. You said, look, you can go for years without seeing one of the boys, but when you see them up in the beer garden, there's a big hug and a beer waiting for you. And I think that is part of the magic that is LWO.
Totally. And I don't want to spoil, like, I know we're going to cover some of this in other episodes, but when we start branching out, like so we keep salmon arm only, like we were only salmon arm until about 2003 or whenever Lebs and maybe Robbie joined. But when we start adding guys, other than the fact that we need to add some new blood, like there's 2 rules. You got to be a good player and you got to be a good dude. Like if you're just a good player, we're not, like, you don't get the invite. And like, so like, you know, and we've tried to keep that through to now. Like, you know, when I'm in touch now with Ryan and Sean, and we're recruiting dudes to come for 2019 or, you know, 2020, which didn't happen. Like, it's the same thing. Like, it's like, you know, they bring Carl, they bring Cheese, they bring Luke. You know, they don't bring dudes that you're not going to like. Like, you know, it's like, we can trust Ryan and Sean because they've been doing it for a long time too, right? Like we've known them for ages. I looked at a photo from the 90s or maybe early 2000s, and they're kids, but there's a picture of us in the beer gardens, and I can see Sean like front, you know, like and Sean we played with in Vernon. He came and played with us for a while. I played with Ryan and Stanch and Brett and Coolio, and we went up and played in Penticton with Ryan and Sean and their guys. Like, you know, we know those, and Bram like is obviously really tight with Ryan and Sean, like quasi brother-in-laws there, and like so we got a lot of connections, and we've just kept true to that. We've never let that slip.
I got a good little story about Sean back in the day. I think this might have been in like, what was the year when they had the All Williams Lake final, Troy?
Benny would know, but it's like, you know, it's around 2001, 2002, like somewhere.
Okay, so at that time we still had the dance at the rec center, and I remember the young boys, they were called the Williams Lake Lightning.
Yeah.
And we were the Lightning as well. We had that as part of our name. So I remember doing a chugging a beer contest with Sean. The winner got to keep the name Lightning, and the loser had to change the name of their team. And Sean, I beat you. I don't know if you guys changed your name. I don't know if you changed your name, but I beat you. I don't know if you remember that, but just so you know.
I like it. Throwing down. Yeah,
Sean
I
came
think
to us in Vernon a few years, and he was like, he's a center back, and he plays center back for us. He played center back for UVic. I mean, he's an awesome player. But he used to come to Vernon with us July long, and we'd play him at striker. But he couldn't stay for Monday, and he'd score like 10 goals to get us to Monday, and then he'd be gone, and we'd lose in the final. Sean, you prick.
I love it.
Selfish bastard.
Sean, if you're listening to this, and I dearly hope that you are, we'd love to get your rebuttal on the air in a future episode. So think about it. Anything else, you know, from those early years, gentlemen, you guys want to cover anything, any big moments in the early history, the prehistory of LWO that you want to shout out?
We probably covered more.
I would just like to say, like, this could be our last thing. It's like we played together, and we really got, like, we were super tight, and we were so tight that guys could get in like fights and hit each other with chairs, like wrestling style at parties, and then the next day you're all good. And that kind of like,
he means Monty, right? Like,
yeah, well, it's Monty. I didn't want to name names, Troy, but why you got to be like that?
He's listening in. We'll get a confirmation shortly.
To sum it all up, it was like we started out like this, and then we got like this, and then we got like this. And that is when magic happened, and then, you know, the rest is history, right?
I know we still pitch it this way, Mackin, but it's not a new thing. We've been saying this for a long time. Like, we call it a family reunion, right? And like, so we try to make it so, like, we know people have shit going on in their lives. Like, we all do. But like, this happens once a year, and it used to be August long, and now it's May long, but it happens once a year.
Yeah. Well, I've missed weddings. I've missed family events. Like, it's like probably the most important weekend of my year in many ways. So, you know, getting together with the boys is just magic.
I love it, boys. Thank you again. That's been a really nice step through some of the early years of LWO. I know from my perspective, I didn't know many of those stories, even having known both of you guys since the late 90s. So really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on. We've got a few more segments left with LWO Radio, but with that note, I'm going to wrap up the Origin segment, and we're going to move it right along. If you're watching along, you like what you see, whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching it the next day or even a year from now, give us a thumbs up just down below, hit subscribe on LWO Radio, and leave a comment. Let us know that you're enjoying the show. I know we've got some live listeners watching along with us. And one in particular, I'd like to give a shout out, Dr. Brett Poulos. Welcome, Brett. Thanks for joining the show, Poulos. Very exciting.
The ashtrays is a reference to being hit with an ashtray.
I like it.
Monty also tried to break a pint mug over my head multiple times during the night. Yeah, and his apology, by the way, this is apology for a lot of things, is so we're at the karaoke bar, and throughout the night Monty is taking his pint glass after he drinks it, and he's trying to smash it over my head,
And in
And
your
it's not
nose,
working
man.
'cause
You hit you in the bridge of the nose too. You were
It's a
bleeding from the
thick-
nose.
it's a thick glass. And it's like, oh, Monty, no, don't do that. Oh, Monty, don't do that. And I like finally I lose it. I'm like, you can't do that. And I started yelling at him. And then so anyway, we left it and it was all good. And then about I don't know, probably about like 4:00 in the morning, I wake up to my phone ringing. Hello, I'm Mac. It's Monty. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're such a punk ass bitch. And he hangs up, and that was like, okay, Monty. So and Polis felt that wrath as well. So yeah.
Oh,
Anyway.
And Spilly too has had the punk ass.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's move it along. We still got some content for the boys who are watching live, as well as for those listening in tomorrow and the following days. The next segment is a segment that we're going to do repeatedly. We like to call it "Where Are They Now?" Where I'm going to turn it over to Scotty. The concept is really simple. Scotty's going to pick a legend. He can pick any legend he wants, and he's going to text them and ask them, "Where are they right now?" And we'll see if we get a response. So very exciting. It's something where it's an interaction. So Scotty, over to you.
I don't want to lie to people. I'm going to tell the truth here. I did this one early. I mean, I'm not this whole podcast person. I wanted to make sure I had everything covered. So I texted a bunch of people just to make sure I had something loaded in the chamber for later today. I did get a hold of multiple people. Most of them sucked. Because they're all sitting at home with their families, so that's not a really funny story. But I did get a good response from one Rory Fogarty. So really, really quick thing. It was a very big honor to be chosen for this because the LWO obviously has a very rich history. There's doctors, there's lawyers, there's Bremner. And, I'm asked to follow up on some of these players and where they are in their life now and just see what they blossomed into since they started out as these kids in these amazing stories. But the only problem with Holla asking me is that I don't know a lot about these people. I wasn't there in the beginning. When I do hear these stories, I often tune them out. And I'm definitely too lazy to look into it. So a lot of this is going to be just made up stuff. So meh, whatever. But today is Rory. So Rory Fogarty is the brother of sometimes legend Sean Fogarty. He was adopted the nickname The Rock at some point. I have no idea how, because he is the farthest thing from rock. He is very soft. But then he became Shale. And Shale, if you don't know, if you're not a geologist, Shale is very weak rock. And that is now his new name. So when Pebbles somehow became introduced into the LWO family, his nickname was clearly Pebbles because he was the smaller brother of Rock at the time, who's now Shale, weak rock. But I don't know anything about Pebbles' background. He was like the Allure mainland kid, possibly interior, most definitely from BC or Canada somewhere. So we got that. True story. My wife threw me a surprise birthday party on my 30th birthday, and he showed up at this party because of a rained out Whitecaps game. I think Coolio my bad. Brad gave him a ride there and stuff. So the Whitecaps game was rained out. They showed up there. He passed out outside of the establishment very early on and slept in the back somewhere. It was very nice. They all got home to a safe thing. Recently, Rory Pebbles Fogarty moved to Victoria, which sounds amazing because there's lots of legends that live in Victoria. But the funny thing was, hey, you have an open invite to play with this amazing Legends team that plays in Victoria. And he passed that up to play with Vic West because he knows a person on there. But he did pass up playing with me and Mac and Troy and Benny and Bremner and Adam and Jay Haas and Alec and Holla. But I mean, who's counting, right? Anyway, so where's Pebbles now? I'm not sure because I didn't bother texting him recently. But however, earlier today, I did text him and ask what he's doing. And his response to me was that I'm just having a quick 2 beer lunch. And that was at 10:40 a.m. So anyway, Pebbles is doing just fine. Back to you,
I
Holla.
sleep right now.
I socially distanced, but delivered him the top that you're wearing right now, Scotty, about a week ago. And I can confirm he looks good. He's working. He's running daily. He said he was riding his bike a lot. He thinks that COVID is going to be wonderful for his health.
I love it.
Fantastic.
All right. And so concludes the segment. Where are they now? Thanks, Scotty. I appreciate it. And I think I got a text message just now from Coolio. He wants to come on a future episode and explain shale. Quick shout out. The boys are getting involved in the chats. Appreciate it, guys. We've got Poulis questioning Brad. And of course, Monty coming in with Pebbles there. So, and Poulis actually defending Peb's honor, saying that he got shattered with Pebs when he was in Victoria recently. Didn't get the call, Poulis. So thanks for that. Anyways, moving right along into our second major segment. Many of you guys would have voted on some of your favorite LWO related historical, I don't know what to call them, like just moments that Troy emailed out, that T-Money emailed out to the group of us. And we thought, what better way than to kick off LWO Radio, the first episode, than to announce the winners tonight of the LWO Lifetime Achievement Awards. So I'd like to turn the mic over to T. He's going to announce some of the winners, and we'll have a brief discussion. So T, over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, this was struck out of sheer boredom. You know, like I'm at home with my family. I was on parental leave already. So, you know, there's a lot of people out there saying, you know, there's a bright side to this time. You know, we get to spend more time with our families. And I'm like, you know, go fuck yourself. Like I was like home with my family all the time. Like, you know, like I go back to work in another month and a bit, but like I'm home with a 4-year-old and a baby and my wife all the time. But Finley had a little bit of daycare, which isn't happening anymore. There's nowhere to take them. So yeah, no, I mean, yeah, anyway, so no, not bitter about any of this. It's good. We're good. But so I wanted something to inspire me, and it became the poll. And I thought, like, we've got a lot of stuff. And I had some things, and it was like, you know, we've got like, who's our best player ever? And I talked with some of the guys about that. What's our best team? Like from player into, you know, like who would be the guys that would make up our best team? But then it was like, nah. Like, that's not what we're about. Like, let's talk about these things that are more like funny or, you know, not specifically about an individual, although some of them kind of are. So that was kind of the genesis for it. Sent out the email. Actually had great response from the guys. So this isn't just like 3 of us decided who the winners are of these. We had probably more than half the guys respond, which is pretty good, you know, given that there was nothing in it for them particularly other than just to read a really long email. I apologize for that, and respond. So, you know, as often people would say, you know, I think it's just an honor to be nominated, you know. So like for those of you that aren't the winners, when I announce the winners here, you know, just consider it an honor to be nominated. I don't think I was nominated for anything, for instance, and rightfully so.
It's an honor, and then just go fuck yourself.
Yeah. So without further ado, here we go. And by the way, I know there's some that Mac or Holla or Scotty will jump in on, but if there's other ones that you just want to like add to what I've said or pick a counterpoint to like some one of the ones that didn't win, I certainly welcome that. And I'm aware of the time, and I won't try to be too wordy. The email's out there. You've seen a fair bit about them. So I'll talk a bit about the winners. First one, most legendary off-field memory. And I'll talk to some of the nominees. I won't always list them all. Party at Spilly's Mom's featuring Guy. I mean, we just went through that, and that was friggin' epic. Lev's Marathon of Hope, also really good. Sherm's Saturday of Dreams, also very good. But the winner, and I mean, there was never a doubt, and this was a landslide victory, was the Makings of the Champ. And I mean, just so good. Now this happens to occur in Williams Lake, and Mac or Mark Majestic has penned a novel called The Perfect Day, and Holla, I know you're going to get to this a little bit later as far as other things, but it was just amazing. So Wade, we go to a tournament in Williams Lake, which would have been a May long weekend, much like Vernon. The year before, we'd won with a really great team, and Wade had won MVP of the tournament, I remember. The next year we go, but Wade's hurt. Comes, but he can't play. But he's determined to leave a mark on this tournament, I guess. And we have a beer leader. I think it's a new thing, but we have a beer leader then. Wade wakes up one morning, and I think we're staying at Gussie and McCarville's. Yes, we are staying for sure at Gussie and McCarville's. And Wade is like, this is my day to be the beer leader, because like, when else is my chance? Otherwise I'm playing and I'm just not usually going to be the beer leader. So I remember we're hopping into somebody's vehicle, and it's a car, I think, because Wade quickly pounds a beer and then hops into the back of the vehicle. And so he's the beer leader because it's like 8 a.m. and he's got a beer in. And so I think we might have had the yellow vest, but I'm not even positive at that point. Mac's nodding his head. So, and I'm not going to give all the details because it's just too much, but like, he is just amazing. And it ends up being the perfect day. And it truly was. Like, it might be the best day of my life. And I know some people might say their kids and marriage and stuff, but the perfect day was so good. And like, Wade is just unbelievable. He must drink 20 something beers over the day. He's got the perfect foil in Ron Ellis, who's also injured, I think, and trying to push Wade to his limits. And Wade is just unbeatable. And these involve challenges, and they can be anything from like, you got to play foosball against me. But there'll always be a pounding of beer sort of involved in it. And Wade just can't be beat. And I remember like after hours of this, and Wade is truly like 20 beers in, I go to get showered, which like, what the hell was I thinking to go get showered? But anyway, like I remember coming back to the clubhouse and thinking like, it's got to be over. Like there's just no way he can still be standing. And I get out of the vehicle and I can hear the crowd chanting like the Rocky music, and then being like, champ, champ. And there was no champ until that day. In fact, he kind of morphed through Wade he was white, to the Muffin Man. He was briefly the Muffin Man, and then he became the champ. And it was just outrageous, like amazing stuff. And the last one, and just to sort of go there, and I know Mac will cover it some more in a future episode with Wade, but it's like, there's the last challenge I remember it's a boat race, and like he's shattered at this point, like, God bless him. But like, and so you pick the teams, and he picks like it's like the ringers. He's got like, Wade picks first, and he's got like Ripper and maybe you, Mac, and like, but it's like, there's no way he's going to lose. Coolio's left to pick like the dregs. I think it's Coolio, or maybe it's Ronnie, but there's no way that they're going to beat him. And
Brad.
And it starts, and Wade's the anchor, because that's the way it's supposed to be. And so it's like, go. And Wade, even though he's the anchor, grabs his beer, starts drinking. We're like, no, champ, you're the anchor. It's like, you're last, and like, it's just like, and he's kind of groggy, like, oh, and then he's like, you're last. You're the last drinker. And then
it was like, punch drunk, Troy. Punch drunk.
Yeah, totally. It was just amazing. It was just a beautiful thing. And Wade pulled it off to perfection. God bless him. Okay, so easy winner there. Does anybody care to make a counter argument? There really isn't a counter argument.
There is no counter argument. And just to further emphasize this,
okay,
we are in conversations with Wade right now to get him on to potentially the next episode. So
yeah,
let's
its own episode.
It really does.
And to pump the book sales, Mac did write a novel called The Perfect Day, and lots of you may not have read it. I've certainly read it to my niece and nephews. I haven't read it yet to Finley, but I will. I know, Scotty, you've read it to Mackenzie.
It was on her 5th birthday. Actually, I sat her down and read her that word for word.
So Finley's 4. So.
I wanted to make her more of like, that's what I want her to be one day. It's more like the champ. Yeah. The champ has softened in recent years, and I don't want to get into that, but hey, for that one day, he was perfect. And I want my daughter to be more like him.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one. Most legendary beer garden song. Okay, this is actually pretty good. And the 3 nominees, Days of the Week featuring Monty, although you got to give a shout out to Dave Walters there too. It was originally his song. LWO Overture from Coolio, which is an original song by Coolio. I've got to make that point. And Father Abraham by Champ. I actually thought this would be quite close, but Days of the Week wins big. And I think there's no question that the leader of the LWO choir is Coolio. You know, like, I don't know if it's a direct comparison.
Brad.
Let's say like Coolio is Kenny Rogers, you know, like he's got
Brad.
a ton of hits, but he's also got like The Gambler, which is massive, right? Like, and that's the LWO Overture. And I looked at my songbook today, and it's the first song in the songbook, and it's huge. You know, it's been near the top of the charts for like as long since Coolio wrote it. But
Brad.
Days of the Week, I mean, Days of the Week is the winner, and it was a pretty big winner. And there was people like, I think Mike Perry was like, I mean, Monty almost fell out of the goddamn window last year doing Days of the Week. So I think there's some of that, and there was the shout out to Dave Walters as well, and there's a real history to Days of the Week. And you know, like, you bet your life we're happy. You can almost just hear it, and you're in the beer gardens, you got the beer on your head, you're doing a circle. I mean, there's a lot that goes with that, and you know, so I think of if Coolio is like, you know, your Kenny Rogers with a plethora of hits and The Gambler. I mean, Monty's sort of your like Vanilla Ice, you know, and like, you know, he doesn't have a ton of hits, but the one he does is pretty damn good. There it is. So here's to you, Monty. Father Abraham did get some votes. Wade, we love you, but you came third in that one. Sorry. Anybody? I think we can move on, can't we? We
can move on. It's a good one, though.
Best merchandise. Also, I only put 2 nominees: yellow scarf and yellow koozie, and I mean also landslide victory, yellow scarf. Koozie, love it. In fact, we did a second print on the yellow koozie, but I mean, yellow scarf. And Mac, you talked a bit about this. I'm actually going to lob it over to you. Yellow scarf. What would you say about it?
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
The yellow scarf took our merchandise to another level, is really what happened. We were doing T-shirts, we were doing beer glasses, you know, we were doing toques, you know, like sweatshirts, warm-up tops. But then you break out a scarf. Next thing you know, girls are gearing down and wearing them as tube tops in the beer gardens, and it's just like fireworks. Another level. It was magic.
Totally. And like I think everybody knows this, but like the LWO logo was designed by Mac. Champ did do like NWO like one that has made it on some merchandise. It is really cool. But Mac designed it. Mac designed most of the merchandise we've done over the years. Oh, Mac's rocking Wade's one there. And Mac's designed most of the merchandise, including the scarf. And the scarf is so epic. Like, we've had like it on Lou Pasaglia. We've had it on like, you know, we've had it on Terry Fox's statue. We've had it on Gretzky's
Hodgson.
We've had it on Cody Hodgson. Like, we've had it on Whitecaps guys. And for a while there was a thing of like everybody that touched the scarf got traded. And like, it was kind of crazy and eerie, and only the power of Lou Pasaglia's mustache could overcome like the glowing power of this scarf, unless you were a legend. Yeah, and Lou's a legend, and we've had multiple run-ins with Lou. We'll get back to Lou probably here in a moment. So anyway, scarf, no brainer. We should do another.
But the one side note to the scarf, though, I mean, the koozie is a big deal. Obviously, everyone, that's an obvious runner-up. But when I had Buck Martinez touch the koozie in the Rogers Center, and we're in Toronto with Holla and his son, and his aroma and just aura of brute for men embraced this koozie. It's like they came together as one, and you could see that he deep down was a legend too, just like Lou Pasaglia. There's no doubt. So just so you know, although it's true, Buck Martinez may not be a legend because he hasn't partied with us. I can feel in his touch that he is a legend deep down in his soul. So I just wanted to shout out to Buck Martinez there. Just, it has to happen.
Thank you. And there is a koozie section on the website where there's numerous koozies like from all over the globe. So yeah, they both deserve a special place in LWO folklore. I do think, much as we've done a reprint of the LWO koozie and legendified it, I do think that in a near year, because we have some guys like, I don't know if Ryan and Sean and Carl, like we have some guys without a yellow scarf. I do think we should do a reprint of the yellow scarf. Maybe instead of like Gardici Lampe Ego Legends, or instead of Lightning Ego Legends. But I think we should do your quasi
30-year edition, Troy. 30-year edition.
There you go. Okay, moving on. Mac, are you ready for this one? This is the Drink of Legends.
I'm ready.
There was multiple nominees, but I'm not going to go through them all because like it came down to a few. There was the Shooter Tutor. I don't even know if anybody voted for it, but it was kind of fun back in the day and whatever. There was the Beer Garden beer, and I mean it is a classic, and it got a number of votes. And I will in a little bit toss that one out because I do think it deserves the counter argument, but it wasn't the winner. The winner and still champion is the Stuntman. And
oh snap!
To honor the Stuntman, for those of you that don't know it, let's get my hand in there. And Mac's doing it too. It's got sugar. Stuntman. Sugar, just to be clear, this is sugar. You snort the sugar.
Thanks for clarifying that. That we're snorting sugar online here.
This is
it's not rated for kids, everybody.
Getting that sugar.
My kid went to bed minutes ago.
The benefit of this is your nasal drip is so sweet the next day.
It's amazing. You'll wake up still having the sugar. A shot. I'm doing gin. What are you doing, Mac?
A little Bombay Sapphire.
Okay. Not critical. You choose whatever shot you want.
First and second.
And I'm using real lemon concentrate, but I think Troy's got a freshie there.
I got a lemon slice. I've never self-stuntman before.
Get Finley to help you.
He's asleep. I'm not waking up.
Go wake him up.
Okay. And you've done it when you flinch. The burn is real when it happens, and I've done it. Ugh.
I don't think I've ever seen a narrated stuntman like that.
And
well done to you, T.
And this is something that not everybody knows, is that John Mellencamp's song "Hurts So Good" is actually about the stuntman.
I knew that. Everyone knows that. You're an idiot if you don't know that.
Okay. The stuntman was
and then REM also does a song called "Everybody Hurts," and it's when you do stuntman as a team.
No, that's stupid, Mac.
Better than me because you may have even been there.
Oh,
talk about the origins of the stuntman for the LWO.
So I was at a party with Jose Suada and Wade pre-champ days in Cordova Bay in Victoria, BC, Canada, and there was an Aussie there, and this guy was like partying hard, and we were all having a real nice time. And this guy decided that he was going to break out the shot, and he called it the stuntman, and we were like, well, let's give it a go, whatever you want to do. And he showed us, and we were like, what? That's crazy. Well, at least I was thinking that, and Wade was thinking that, but Joe was into it. Joe was like, no, this is good times, boys. And so he really like pushed it on us hard. And it kind of grew on me, like over the years. There's like, it's like every party, it's like, hey, we got to do a stuntman. Next thing you know, it becomes a bit of a custom and a ritual for the LWO.
And what I've realized is that I think we've let it slip a little bit at the tournaments. And like, so for some of the newer guys, when we get back to Vernon in the next one, when we get to Don Cherry's or wherever the heck it is, it might not be called Don Cherry's anymore. He's probably having a hard time no, it probably is still Don Cherry's. Anyway, we need to do a round of stuntmen because it's been a while. And so next time we're all together, we will do a round of stuntmen. I don't think rye is the right shot for it, although any shot will do. But I think this is properly done, not in a beer garden. This is properly done either in a hotel room, and you can do a passaglia that ends with kicking a grape as well, which is really hard when you're blind. And this must be done. We need to get some of the newer guys to do a stuntman.
Can I interject really quick? I don't want to keep this running too long, but I met Troy when I first moved to Victoria, and I played with the Bays guys, and Troy moved away promptly after, like days after. But I met up with him again at a BC Lions game, and we were doing Pasaglias in his apartment with like Monty and Champ, and I don't know any of these guys, and they were very like aggressive to me, and we're doing stuntmen with kicking, and if you didn't get it out his balcony window into downtown Vancouver, then you had to re-kick, and so you're doing stuntman after stuntman if you're a terrible kicker like myself. But side note, Chris McDonald was actually at my wedding, circa somewhere between 2000 and 2007, whenever that was. And we were doing Pisaglias at my wedding. And I don't know why that was a good idea, but it was. And I remember Poulis, doctor, was carrying a tray of shots over to the kicking area. And my dear mom was saying, please, is that not for, it's not for him, is it? He's like, no, it's fine. And so we went and we were doing Pisaglias. And Mike Perry, it's a decent left foot on him, went up to take his shot. And my limo driver came out of nowhere and just dove across and took this thing, took the grape right in the chest like a true war hero, and just wore it like, and it was amazing. So anyway, I was drink of choice. Yes, it could be whatever.
I just want to say two things. First of all, Benny Stanchfield's in the chat. Welcome, Benny, to LWO Radio. I appreciate it. I'm thinking of The Bodyguard for whatever reason. I mean, it sounds like the guy got in the line of fire on a grape. We might be killing Mac here, but that's pretty impressive. I do want to give just a slight shout out to the beer tap technology. I know it doesn't hold any type of shade on the Stuntman or the Pisaglia, but it revolutionized the way we beer garden. And there's something really powerful about being able to go into a beer garden and basically drink unlimited alcohol, whether it be a sweet tea, a gin, which I don't like gin, but I had about 8 of them. Bubbles reminded me I was drinking gin, and then I didn't like it again, or beer. So beer tap technology, I have high hopes for that in the future.
I totally agree. I actually think that co-winners would have been fairly reasonable because the beer garden beer is a staple, and now we've taken it to the next level.
Totally.
Plus, Perry and Lebs and I had double beers at Don Cherry's last year.
Make it a double.
Okay, moving along. We are on the home stretch here. Biggest idiot. I'm not going to spend too much time here. This is individual. I'm just going to mention it and move along. The midget wins. He was a grebe that was a mediocre at best player, never won anything, big mouth, just yap and yap and yap. And but lose and lose. I mean, in a way, there was something special about that you could not shut up and yet never win and not really have anything to talk about and yet still talk as much as he did. And the last memory I have of him is in 2007. And it's a pretty good memory for me because I've got a torn ACL and I'm sitting on the sidelines. Perry's left mid and we're playing them in the quarters. The first time in the tournament, we've beaten these grebes up for years in the league. But the first and only time we played them in the tournament. Perry on left mid for us, and just Perry, and then the midgets on right mid for them. So he's trying to mark Perry, and not gonna happen, right? Perry's just destroying him, and I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes in, I guess he realizes this is going terrible, so he fakes an injury, which he was very prone to doing, and goes off the field, and that's it. The Grebes never play again, and he never plays again in the Salmon Arm tournament. So Mike Perry,
extinction.
Mike Perry, God bless you. That's the last we ever saw of that idiot midget.
I think that our very first, we said at the kickoff, we were like, just drop it into Perry. He's going to destroy this guy, and that was it. Over.
Lights out.
We beat
Lights out footy.
The Grebes and the end of the midget. Biggest rival team's kind of more interesting because we've got Canmore, and we had a good rivalry with them in a way, but we never hated them, we never loved them. They didn't win. The 3 teams that were kind of in the mix, and this was a really close one. Williams Lake, we got a bunch of them on our team now. We've got the Grebes, and we've got Selection. And I realize that this is before the time of a number of you guys, but the winner, and I don't think I've told you guys this, but the winner is Selection. And they are a team in the Salmon Arm tournament, and they're actually they're a good team. They're good players. highly skillful. Sort of reminds me a little bit of like the Rocky Clubber Lang sort of thing. And like, you know, so the first time we play them, we don't know who they are. And they do beat us. And they beat us in one of the tournaments. We end up playing them in the semis, and we gave them like, we outplayed them like seriously in the semis, but they did beat us in extra time on a goal. And these guys were cheap, dirty bastards, and they were yappy and like pricks. Like, and while like certain teams, including the Grebes, are pricks, they actually had a lot of nice guys. Selection were just pricks, like just absolute pricks from top to bottom. And the 2006 tournament where we win, and I won't go into that, that's probably going to be covered in a future episode. We beat them, and we beat them easily. And oh God, that was good. And they won. I did vote for selection. It was a close vote. Second place on this was the Grebes. Williams Lake was third. And I think that the kind of the brotherhood versus the like, I hate these guys, was probably what knocked Williams Lake into third. Because in a way, they were major rivals for us. But the Grebes were second. And Mac, I think you might have a little bit to say about the Grebes.
Well, just very briefly, I'll just say, like, in the early days, it was the Grebes that really brought, like, in the early days, it brought us together, because that was the team that was the big rival for us. You know, it included the midget and some other guys, and they chirped at us and we beat them, and they chirped at us and we beat them. But it was the team that kind of, they pushed us a bit, right? So they were the team that kind of kept us going, as far as like, we gotta keep working here and making sure that we destroy the Grebes. So, you know, for the early days, it would have been the Grebes for me, but I do realize that there are definitely other teams that pushed us to get to the next level for sure.
One little Grebe story is, and this is kind of almost vintage Grebes, and like there's some great guys on that team, like Dale Whitfield and Barry McKay and Dave Walters, like some guys that were total buddies of ours. But they also, like, there was just this, like, as a team, we didn't like them. And one of the years we are in the league and we've won our semifinal game, and the Grebes and Revelstoke are playing, and they're the second and third place teams, and Revelstoke wins. But Revelstoke doesn't want to come to Salmon Arm and play us because, like, they know we're going to beat them. And so we're at Spilly's again. It's not the infamous party, but we're having a team party there, and we're getting pretty shattered. And the Grebes, they've lost. So we get a call saying Revelstoke's not coming. So we're like, oh, okay, well, the season's over. Like, you know, we're already hammered, but we'll just ramp it up another level, and because we don't play tomorrow, like the finals tomorrow. And like, this is kind of the same thing of like, there was no drinking the night before or anything. It was like, we were going to go for it, whatever. Like, that was the same we roll now. So we were drinking. And then we get a call back from probably Dave Walters, but I'm not sure. And it's like, we're going to play you tomorrow. We're like, what? You guys lost to Revelstoke. How are you guys in the final? Like, what do you mean you're going to play us in the finals? And they were like, yeah, well, Revelstoke defaulted, and now we're playing. We're like, you lost to them. Anyway, we're like, whatever, like, we'll see you tomorrow. And we go to Blackburn Park, and it's actually 0-0 at the half. And it goes into the second half, and Gammy scores 2, and Max scores 1, and we win 3-0. Their goalie is another dude, and I can't remember his name, but he played pro as well. And so they do have a really good goalie. But anyway, another victory for us, another loss for those stupid Grebes. Okay, so last two. Biggest goal. So, and this is interesting now. I think this is pretty interesting. Gammy, 1994 versus Williams Lake. I talked a bit about that. Quarterfinals, but it's the goal that establishes the LWO and gives us some staying power, I'd say. Champ, 1998 versus Williams Lake. That's a golden goal. It's our only golden goal. So Champ scores to get us back on the title track in that from Mac. And then Gammy in 2006, also from Mac. Robbie Nall does a good job to steal the ball, gets it to Mac and over to Gammy, and he scores late, very late. And that's the first championship for the like Bays, Williams Lake, Salmon Arm. This is where we've sort of adapted and we win. And it had been a while. So that was a big win. And then 2019, and everybody that listens to this that was there, is definitely going to remember the semis for the 35s. And I'm not playing. I'm on the sidelines. Scotty's the only one in this group of 4 that's playing. Sven Haberman. Thank you, Monty. Sven Haberman was the goalie for the Greaves back then. So Scotty's the only one playing, but we're down 2-0 at the half. It's the semis. We got 2 teams. This is the first time we've done it. And it's hard to come back from 2-0, right? Like I've never come back from 2-0 in a tournament because it just, it kind of gets away from you. But we go out and Carl scores pretty early in the second half, and it's a cracker. And I remember that goal. And then there's sort of a scramble, and Robbie scores a couple minutes later to tie it up, and it's 2-2. And then Ryan comes down, and I think, although I'm not sure, and Ryan's left-footed, but I think Ryan might score this with his right. But he just basically blasts it up over the goalie, and it's in. And 3-2. And
Well,
I think Harry's
how it actually happened there, Troy, was he did score this right. He was running into a group of people. There was way too many in front of him, like lots. I was standing wide open 5 feet to his right, yelling at him, Ryan, I'm right here. Pass me the ball. Open it. And he didn't. He took on the 6 or 7 people in front of him and then shot with his wrong foot and buried it. So,
yeah, there you go.
Smart choice.
Smart choice. So Ryan scores to make it 3-2, and it's bedlam. Like, I guess in theory I'm coaching, but I'm not really coaching. I'm just like going crazy. And I can remember Lebs has got his bruised retina, and he and Mac have some goofy song going on the sideline. Mac has accidentally logged off, but they've got some goofy song going, and it's crazy. And it's so cool because it's the first time that we've got a whole team of dudes watching another team of dudes playing, right? And so it adds to the atmosphere of, like, we used to have fans, a few, but we didn't have a whole team of dudes. We didn't have 20 guys on the sidelines cheering for you. So it wins. Ryan wins. But it's really those 3 goals. It's all those 3 goals culminating in Ryan's. And like, I will personally say from 27 years that's the most exciting game I've ever seen. That's the best comeback we've ever had. So Ryan wins. But I'm going to say,
like my goal? Gee, thanks. Just scored it.
There it is. Yeah. So just that sort of witty humor is happening on the sidelines. So congrats to everybody on that 35 team. That was so epic. And of course, what makes it a little more epic is that what happens, Holla? How does that tournament end for the 2 teams?
Championships. It just rained championships.
I thought it was
unbelievable.
Bukkake.
I was incredibly intoxicated in a van halfway to Merritt that wouldn't pull over and let me go pee, but that's a story for another day. But it just rained. 2-time champions, man.
2.
We've got more trophies than Tottenham, which is amazing. That's a song coming, but that's for another day as well.
That's not too hard though, is it?
No, it's coming. Don't worry. Anyways,
the last one of this group is the most legendary team. This is tough. So I chose the 6 years that we've won a title. Of course, 2019 we've won 2 titles, and I'll be honest, I voted for a different year, but this is a tie, and it's the only one that's a tie. And we have 2 winners, and it's 2006, which is the first year, and I captured Gammy scoring the winner. So this is the Livewire dudes, the Salmon Arm dudes, but we've added the Bays guys. So we've got Lebs, and we've got Robbie, and we got Jay Haas, and we've got, it's not Perry that year. I'm pretty sure Perry's not there that year. Kieski, Bate. We've got a lot of the Bays guys there, but then we've also got the Williams Lake guys. So they've, just like us, Williams Lake kind of eventually kind of petered out. And so we get Benny, who we're playing with in Victoria, Sherm, who we used to play with in Victoria.
Gussie?
Not that year. No. Is it maybe just those 2 that year? It might just be those 2 that year. And I'm sorry if I'm forgetting somebody else, but those are the 2 I remember from that year. And we win that year, and we beat Selection. I don't remember who we beat in the semis because I think Selection's the quarters, and we beat Canmore in the finals. That's Gammy's goal. And those are 2, like, Selection and Canmore were good teams. They're good teams. And so fair enough. We have overlooked the 98 and 99 championship eras, but we have that tying with the double championship in 2019, and we've covered that. The 40s plus is kind of like we somewhat uneventfully strolled to a championship. Like we're not dominant, but we're never like incredibly pushed. We do end up tied 1-1 at one point, and Alec comes in the semi, and then Murr scores crossbar goalie in. Oh, Joe scores first. Joe scores to make it 2-1, and then Murr scores crossbar goalie in, and we win the finals 2-0. We kind of always win, and it's never totally in doubt, but we're not crazy dominant. And the 35s like tie their first game. Coolio makes a great penalty save in the first game to keep it tied. And then they win out and have the crazy the semis, and they just crush Arsenal in the finals. So 2 titles, 1 weekend, beer tap debut. I think that's part of it. Pretty epic. So that's our tie. Mac, did you want? I know we've touched on it, but any counters?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to a team that won like 50 plus games in a row. Like, that's hard to do at any level. So,
yeah. And we've
covered the untouchables.
And we have that like back to back and no goals against, and even 2013, just to throw it out there. And I'm not voting I didn't vote for that, but 2013 is our first year with a proper team in Vernon. Sherm scores 10. We don't give up any goals. Like, we kick the shit out of teams then too. Okay, that's the end of that segment. So thanks everybody for participating. And
nice one, Troy.
This is actually a cup of urine.
Ooh.
Super urine.
All right. Well, hopefully, Legends, you're sticking with us. Only a few minutes left in the broadcast with this episode. But we are excited. It is episode 1. What wouldn't be a great podcast? What wouldn't be a great episode of LWO Radio without a contest? So this is something exciting. This is your chance to get involved. Don't shout out the answer right now. I mean, you can, but we're going to turn this over to you guys. All you have to do is put an answer in the comments below, or send us an email throughout the week. We will be doing a live draw on the next episode for the winner of an LWO care package, which we're going to send to you guys. Something exciting.
COVID-free.
Could be COVID-free. Could be COVID-free.
That's no, it's not. It might not be.
Probably. We'll get Spilly to bless it. No worries there. So, so from my perspective, we're going to turn it over. Mac, I think you've got a skill testing question for these guys for our contest this week. It will be open all week. Send us an email. Let us know what the answer is, and you will be entered automatically for a live draw next episode for an LWO care package. Mac, over to you.
Yeah, so just making sure everyone's familiar with a little bit of our history here. So the question is, and it's been covered in this broadcast. So if you look back at it, you'll get the answer. Why does the LWO wear yellow? Is the question.
So don't answer that now. Don't put it in the chat just yet. But definitely, if you're watching along over the next week before our next episode, send us your answer. You can also send it via email to any of the guys on the panel you see. We'll make sure that you get entered into the draw for next week for the next episode. So thanks, Mac. Moving right along, only a few things left to do. The first thing is announcements. Before I go, I know T, you've got a couple announcements you'd like to make going out to the LWO family. So please take it away, T Money.
You know what? We're just going to go with 2 announcements here this episode because we may have other ones in the future. So we got 2 expecting fathers, and this must be pre-shut-in. So it's not just they're getting frisky now. They got frisky a few.
Fuck, I hope it's not me.
Yeah, we got.
Turn it into Maury Povich.
We got Jose and Tanya kicking it again. Jose and Tanya.
Congratulations.
Parents.
Congratulations, Jose and Tanya.
Congratulations.
Caliente.
And entering into the new parent category, we've got J. Haas and Sean due in September.
Unbelievable. Jay Haas, do Haas.
September, October, I can't remember. I
Old
think
fart
September.
season.
In the fall.
Yeah, don't worry about it, guys. Like, hopefully you don't have to go through a pandemic with 2 young children at home. Should be fine.
But if you do, T-Roy's got a lot of
Yeah. Look me
cheat
up.
codes. He's hiding
Yeah.
alcohol all over the house. All right. Thank you for that. And, our big announcement is that LWO Radio will be back hopefully next week, but we're not exactly sure what day we're going to record on. The concept for episode 2, it's shaping up to be around the champ and the perfect day. Some of the folks on the screen you will see. Some of them you may not, but yeah, we are going to be back. Like I said off the top of the show, this is hopefully going to be 4, 5, 6 episodes, but it will be a limited run just to get us through all of the craziness that's out there right now. So we hope you've enjoyed drinking beers. Last thing before we close the show is shout outs, and I'm going to go to you first, Mac Daddy, with a shout out. Anyone you'd like to shout out before we close the show?
Massive shout out to Monty Walters.
Great
Hey,
shout. Great shout.
And maybe just to spice things up a little bit, Spilly's mom for inspiring me back in the day.
Yeah,
God bless.
Spilly's mom.
All right. Thanks. And T-Roy, T-Money, what do you got for a shout out?
Back through 2 shout outs. So I'm going to go 2 shout outs too.
Okay.
Because we are going, this was an old school episode. I'm going to go with old school. And he was one of the dudes that just taught us how to be tough back in the day. So I'm going old school. And I'm also going to go with Murr. I've been texting a bit with Murr, and I know that keeping his optometry clinic going right now is not very fun. And he is doing it. And Murr, keep it going, dog.
Good. Thank you for that. Scotty Too Hottie Rimek, who are you shouting out?
Thanks. I changed our previously discussed one from earlier. I am going to shout out Mr. Brett Poulis. I know he is working really hard. He's a double doctor, which is dynamite. He had to live in San Francisco for a bit, in Calgary, and he had to live with Bremner, which is just fucking awful in my opinion. He had to, he's been all over the place, and he's doing it, it's pretty awesome what he's doing. So we're all proud of you. And I remember that time when I had that awful knee surgery, you were the one there taking me out for midday beers. So shout out to Poulis.
Great stuff. And my shout out goes to my son Max, who not only lent me this headset because I'm too old to have a video game web headset, but also when he heard we were doing this, he decided to draw a photo for the LWO or a picture for the LWO. So I'm hoping that this will translate.
Oh, translating hard.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
LWO Radio. And the Tiger King at the bottom. It's almost like he knew what we were going to talk about before we even
Tiger King, yeah.
Look at that. We definitely brought up Tiger Kings. I think Jared Pearson, Jer Bear shouted out Troy Exotic at one point during the episode. So that's my shout out to my son Max.
Boom.
Boom. And with that, there's nothing left for me to do but to thank my guests. Really appreciate it, guys. Great first episode. We hope all of you in LWO Radio Land have enjoyed it. Mac and T-Money, thank you for joining us. Beautiful.
Keeping it tight to 2 hours, Holla, just like we planned, right?
Unbelievable content. And over to you, Scotty, my co-host and faithful companion.
Good God, I can't believe I made it 2 hours without having to poop. Thanks.
Unbelievable. I've peed my pants 3 times on this episode.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
All right, with that, thank you. You know it. Stay legendary.
You know it. Take it easy, guys.